Now tuned into the greatest.
So when that bag come, I won't fumble. I'm just stacking on the low, but hey, I'm tired of being humble. Let me get to it. That motivation music. Get control of your life, don't let nobody else do it. Cause and I gon' have Metro S550s cruising. Feel like you winning on the ground, but he really...
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. I appreciate you tuning in to the first interactive sports podcast, a community that makes sure your voice is heard. So if you hear something you agree with, you disagree with, you like or you dislike, or you just want to outsmart me on something you said, go ahead, hit us up on a voicemail line and leave us a quick take. That is 219-413-9405. And of course, we'll play your take back on our next episode. And then shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this episode. Get $20 off of your first ticket purchase when you use the promo code The Run Podcast. Now, this code can only be applied for first-time users on the mobile app or website. So I don't know about you, but basketball season's rolling strong. You better create that account and go to one of these games and witness some greatness, or maybe it's an NFL playoff game. We're going to actually go from Detroit, Chicago, and all the way to North Carolina because we got a special guest in the building. Jared Bell, what's going on with you, man? How you feeling today?
Oh no, Manny, I'm feeling blessed to be here. Happy to be here on the run again, man. It's always a pleasure.
Of course, man. I'm happy you came and joined the show. Shout out to you also for making some time. Of course, I appreciate that. I know we all got busy schedules, so, I love that you came on. It's like, I got some time for you. Let's do it. But that brings me to my point here is I was telling people to go to these playoff games maybe, and there's a team that's not going to be in the playoffs. And their fans are a little worried, I should say. That is the Detroit Lions. Now, we know last year they had a pretty successful season in terms of regular season, I should say. I guess I should start specifying. But they ended up winning or losing the division round in the first round of the playoffs for the NFL to the Commanders, rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels. The year before that was probably their most successful year ever in the franchise history of the Detroit Lions. Got all the way to the conference championship game and then fell short to the San Francisco 49ers. Now people are kind of wondering if that Super Bowl window is close, so that's what we are going to talk about. Lions are not in the playoffs this year. They ended up losing, getting put out the playoffs as they lost to the Steelers, and then most recently they also took another L, which hurt them bad, to the Minnesota Vikings. Crazy. Let's kind of touch on this Vikings L first, because this is 3 straight for the Lions. But they lost to a Vikings team with no J.J. McCarthy. Mm-hmm. This is bad. Bad. What's the thoughts on that, Jared?
Well, there are no excuses when it comes to a team sport. Granted, they're in a transitional year of having different defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. So maybe there are some growing pains here and there. And also maybe Johnny Morton is not the caliber of offensive coordinator, offensive play caller that Ben Johnson is, as we can see here. So it's just like a matter of everybody else has gotten a lot better. And I don't believe that the Lions have gotten marginally better as they may have been able to in this offseason. And I feel like it has showed in the regular season.
Yeah, this is true. And I think this is what it comes down to, especially when I consider like Super Bowl window. And I know in particular, I mentioned the Vikings losing to Max Bronsmer, which is, kind of wild, a quarterback that doesn't have much experience in this league. And honestly, which makes this loss even worse for the Detroit Lions was the fact that he only threw for a total of 51 yards. And somehow the Lions still lost. It just looked bad. But going to the offensive side of the ball, is this Lions offense has been inconsistent all year. Some games we see they're explosive. J-Mo's getting his touches. Amon-Ra's getting his touches. Gibbs and Montgomery is sharing these carries and getting touchdowns. And then other games we see games like this Vikings game where Gibbs only has 41 yards and Montgomery only has 25. And neither of them scored a touchdown. Like it's
Mhm.
rough. So, when I think Super Bowl window, you kind of hit it on a nail of just this it could be a transition year for them. Now, to say if it's open or closed, personally, I think the Lions still have a wide range of their Super Bowl window, mainly because they got their key guys locked up. They got Gibbs under contract, J Mo's under contract, Amon-Ra is under contract. So they have the core of what they need together on the offensive side, and on the defensive side, they got Aiden Hutchinson locked up as well. So, it's not a case of, oh, they won't have the talent and be able to compete in a Super Bowl, because they'll still be a competitive team. But I'm just on the side of, yeah, you have these guys, but everybody around you is getting better. And also, let's call it for what it is. Going to the Super Bowl is a difficult path. Going to the Super Bowl is hard to do, especially when you got Rams that's elite in your conference, the Seahawks that's elite in your conference. You have a lot of different teams who are now elite in your conference. So it is a lot more difficult to get to the Super Bowl. But is the window closed? I say no.
Yeah, I don't believe their window is closed either. They have some great players, great playmakers, and also the defense has gotten marginally better this season. I've enjoyed watching the Lions defense this season, where in the past that has been kind of a struggling point a little bit when it got down to those playoff games. So I believe that Kelvin Shepard is a great DC. They have some great guys to be able to make a run. But even then, if you look at a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, who have been able to make a Super Bowl run, they never have a shortage of talent. It doesn't matter how much talent they have; they're always trying to get more and more talent. They're making big moves. They're drafting well. They're doing a lot of things to keep themselves in a great position to always be competitive. Whereas the Lions may feel like they're complacent and or stagnant with where their team is at.
That is a good point. I know before the deadline, there was a lot of people who wanted the Lions to make some moves before the deadline, whether that was just going to bring some more pieces on the defensive end, maybe grabbing another receiver or two. And we didn't see GM Brad Holmes do that. And that rubbed a lot of Lions fans wrong, because using that example of the Eagles, they are just always improving. They're always getting guys for low cost but high profit. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't really hinder them because it was a low cost. So I mean, that is a note or a page out of the book that the Lions could try and feed into. And in the offseason, maybe they will, but it'll be kind of tough to consider. But it makes me think, like, is it a particular move or two that would like change the dynamic of this Lions team to be able to flip them into immediate Super Bowl contenders again?
Well, I don't think so. It's just more so you being able to find a number of good players that can step in whenever unfortunate things happen, like injuries or like suspensions. It really doesn't matter what players the Eagles have. If there is a player that is great and is available like for cheap, the Eagles are going to be very likely to go after him and get him. So I would say the Eagles are playing with a little bit of fast money, whereas the Lions are kind of building more slow motion, slow and steady.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong on that situation. So obviously, not getting in the playoffs this year for the Detroit Lions. They lost to the Vikings, and then they lost to the Steelers after that. And then even if you go back a little further, they also lost the game that was before that 3-game losing streak for them. But I kind of want to bring up how a lot of Lions fans are new to this. Like, this is still a successful season, or I ain't gonna say now by the standards that they have, but going back a couple years ago, this was a Lions fan's dream to even be in the competition for possibly making a playoff. So, like, for those new fans out there, it just kind of it makes me think, and I'm like, some Lions fans have gotten so spoiled of this Dan Campbell era of getting to the playoffs and possibly having a chance to go to the Super Bowl and things like that, because they just started watching 3 years ago. But for those who have been watching the Lions for 20 plus years, 10 plus years, like, this is not that bad. This is not the worst situation that the franchise have lived through.
It is not the worst situation. However, I have been extremely impressed over the past 3 years of how the Lions have ended the season. That's where this season differs from the last 3 seasons, because they've usually ended seasons on winning streaks. However, this time around, we were in a place where we lost 3 games straight, and that knocked us out of playoff contention. Whereas we kind of won those last few games down the stretch to get us into the playoffs.
Yeah, that that does make a big difference. And honestly, looking at it coming down to the end of the season, I personally had a lot of faith in the Lions of what they were going to do in terms of these must-win situations. Like the last thing I would have ever thought was that the Lions lose to a Vikings team with no JJ McCarthy. And correct me if I'm wrong. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but this means the Lions got swept by the Minnesota Vikings and they got swept by the Green Bay Packers all in one season, right? Correct me if I'm
Yes,
wrong.
absolutely. You're not wrong.
Crazy. And initially, this well, that's just wild. You lose to the, it's wild. I'm looking back at it now. It was week 9. That's what it was. Yeah, week 9. Week 9, and then you lose to them in week 17, which is just crazy. But you got swept by 2 division opponents in a
Mhm.
year where you had a lot of potential to still get to the playoffs. But to me, this is also saying a lot about this division and also, quote unquote, that Super Bowl window being open and closed, because now you look at the talent from around this standpoint of the division where Packers are elite. Now the Bears are elite, and you potentially might even, well, they beat the Bears early on, but you're going to probably split against the Bears because this is a well-oiled playoff machine right here with the Chicago Bears is what it looks like. So to me, that does hinder their chances of possibly getting to another Super Bowl. However, things change with coaches and players. You never really know what might happen.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to drafting, when it comes down to free agency, there are always players that come available at very random times. And like for instance, the Packers took advantage of that, getting Micah Parsons. So it's like being able to make splash moves at different times throughout the season, and not just the off season, is able to kind of propel teams to being either better or worse than they could be.
Yeah, and you hit it on to his splash moves. Is so you said there was, correct me if I'm wrong. You said there was no specific like moves they should aim for in the offseason that would like turn them into immediate Super Bowl contenders. Just one, I don't want to misquote you or anything. I just want to make sure like that was on the lines of what you were saying.
I mean, yes. I mean, it really comes down to which players are available, and which opportunities there are to take advantage of. Just being able to take advantage of teams that are trying to deal players that may be on contracts they no longer want, or like trying to pick up players that other teams don't want to pay. You can never truly pinpoint which players those will be because things change over the course of an entire year.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of go on right now. I don't have any specific targets that they should get. However, the one thing I will say is definitely you need some more help in the receivers. In that receiving room, you need some more help. I mean, I like to slot in what he's been doing so far this season. I think he stepped up big time, especially for a rookie, to get that many touches and to be able to step out, but also a lot of the passing game was really bailed out on Gibbs and Montgomery on these little
Yeah.
swing passes and these little shorter routes that really helped Jared Goff. However, the talent to me isn't really the biggest issue with the Lions right now. I kind of expected this to be the situation for the Detroit Lions, so them not making the playoffs doesn't really catch me by surprise. I mean, I think a lot of Lions fans need to kind of ease up in a way of what they're
Mhm.
going through this season of missing the playoffs, mainly because you lose your offensive coordinator, you lose your defensive coordinator, and you lose a lot of other position guys due to Ben Johnson leaving and Aaron Glenn leaving and going these other places and taking some of their pieces with them. So it's like you got to kind of you get set back a couple steps behind. So it's like you obviously know you're not going to come back the same exact team as you were when you had an experienced offensive coordinator, an experienced defensive coordinator. I just think it's silly to immediately think you're going to be that same team. And even next year, I think, they're not going to be that same exact team, but it'll be something to build off. And long story short, they'll have to reinvent themselves in a way. Like Lions will have to come out with a new identity of what type of team they are. If they're run first, pass first, if they're going to be mainly focused on certain formations or mainly getting this guy involved, they'll have to revisit these conversations because the old way it was working with Ben Johnson as your offensive coordinator and Aaron Glenn as your defensive coordinator, that era is done and that way is done.
Yeah, absolutely. But honestly, I feel like for me as well as other Lions fans can kind of pinpoint one specific area as to why the Lions may have fallen short this season and that they've been talking about since the offseason, which is depth. When those injuries hit, because it seems like the
Yeah.
Lions always manage to get hit with the injury bug. Like
Yep.
losing Sam Laporta this season was a big part of that offense,
Right.
and then even from there, you lose guys like Brock Wright, who's a second string tight end, third
Yep.
string tight end, and it's like being able to stockpile so much talent that those injuries can hurt you less because the level of play doesn't drop too far when a Pro Bowler gets hurt is cannot be understated.
Yeah, that part is tough. And then also to another area is the offensive line, bro. That offensive line needs some help. And I think if you're gonna add any bulk on a position room, that offensive line should be the start of it. Because when guys go down, if you don't have someone to step up that knows the plays, that can do well at pass blocking, run blocking, zone reads, man reads, like whatever the case is, it's really gonna hinder them. So I think that's definitely one of the areas there. Other than that, Jared, man, let the folks know where they can find you. Let them know where they can find some of your content and some. I mean, you got a lot. You got a lot of stuff. So just let them know where they can find you and keep up with you.
I'm mainly on Instagram at jr.bell__. And actually, on the air is going to be the first time I'm saying this to Manny. But over this past November, I became a licensed preacher,
Oh,
a local preacher, man. Um,
shout out to
so if you
you.
wouldn't mind, would you mind if I share a quick bit of scripture before we peel out?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so this actually has blessed me today. It is Psalm 56, chapters 3 to 4. I'm just going to paraphrase from a conversation that King David is having with the Lord. He says, "Many are boldly attacking me, but when I am afraid, I will put my trust in you. I praise God for what He has promised. I trust God. Why be afraid? What can mere mortals do to me?" So that scripture just pretty much says, as long as you are submitted to godly authority and you believe in the promises that God has for you should not fear anything or anyone that comes about to harm you or attack you in your life.
I love that, man. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, man. Every episode, I always try and leave on a positive note, and this is dope. And this is
Mhm.
also me. I want to clarify. This is not me trying to push anybody to believe in anything or whatever the case is. But if you're a Christian like myself and like Jared, I mean, hey, then this is what you need. This is something that's good. So I like that scripture. And what scripture was that one more time? So I can go
Uh,
back
that
and
was Psalm that was Psalm 56 verses 2 to 4.
verses 2 to 4. I like that, man. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you coming through again, making some time and joining the pod. Greatly appreciate it. Of course, you know, Jared, we're gonna bring you back at some
Of
point.
course.
So don't even worry about that. And you know, we'll get clips out and everything. But look, we're gonna take a quick break. We got some more stuff coming up, some news for the run, and then also Matty Ice possibly joining the Atlanta Falcons front office. So interesting conversation there. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. It's only halftime. All right, bet. And then also, before you say anything, just want to give you a heads up. We are still live on YouTube, but
Okay.
that'll be the break for the pod. So,
Okay.
um, but yeah, other than that, man, that was the main thing. Just
Mhm.
the line stuff, and then I'll get you back in at some point on
Mhm.
just especially with basketball season in full form and NFL season coming
Mhm.
to an end. Definitely want to bring you on here, and I also want to have multiple people at some point. So I probably put you
Mhm.
on with someone else, and like
Okay.
we'll all just chop it up. So look forward to doing
The
that.
NBA season has been real confusing to me. I don't understand the NBA Cup for real. I'm not gonna lie. I don't get
Right.
it.
The NBA Cup, I'm not really a big fan of it personally. That's a,
Mm.
it's
Like,
a, I think it's one. I think it's a couple things with the NBA Cup they need to change. One, I think it needs to change the way it's marketed.
mm,
Just because it's just not really doing a good job of being
mm,
super exciting. And I think the days we know the cup games, it isn't like overwhelmingly exciting. And also it's tough because it is in the midst of football season. So this is like arguably the peak time for NFL games, and this is when NFL or NBA Cup is happening. I think it's a cool thing, but if we're gonna make it like a bigger thing, NBA Cup, somebody gonna have to care about actually winning something outside of the money because that's like the primary reason it seems like a lot of players care because they get the money for it, but
Mhm.
nobody's hanging that banner up. Nobody wants to brag on it being an NBA Cup champion, and I'm like, that's just tough because you can't really go many places from that.
Yeah, no, and it's like also sports has become so money hungry that it's like nobody has like their set signature days anymore. Everybody's just fighting for spots whenever they can get them, and so it's like,
Yeah.
okay, are they playing NFL games on Saturdays because there's no college football? So it's like, oh, or college football is waiting until New Year's to play the big bowl game because they want the ratings. And I'm just like,
Bro, it's gotten out of control. And NBA is kind of taking part in that because now, I mean, you see the way they're spreading out everything and spreading out across all these platforms, and that's also another reason why I think NBA Cup games is harder because just the dynamic of NBA games is spread out literally everywhere. Like it's just hard to consistently watch a certain team or a certain group. Like it's just hard
mhm,
to watch because it's
yeah,
Prime, Peacock, uh, Apple TV, like NBC Plus. Like it's just hard to watch every single game.
mhm,
And I mean, I don't pay for any of those. I use StreamEase, but
yeah, Fubo. But my parents pay for Fubo.
Yeah, I don't pay for nothing, none of that shit. I'm not ever paying. I'm done paying for sports ever. Like I don't think.
I'm telling you, bro. Oh,
Mm-mm.
it's Christmas. I can't even watch the NFL games because I don't got Netflix. Like, come on, hell.
Don't
Because
trip, bro.
I'm not paying for Netflix.
If you need the link, I got you. That's all. I promise you. I promise. If you want to watch a game and you
Mhm.
don't have the subscription, please just send me a text message and say you got the link for the game, and I got you because I got it
Word, word,
bookmarked
word.
and everything. So
Okay.
yeah, don't. I'll never pay for. I had YouTube TV maybe like shit, maybe 3 years ago now.
But you pay for YouTube TV like it's crazy out here, bro.
Bro, I had YouTube TV and I still couldn't even watch teams I wanted to watch. I still couldn't even watch the Pistons.
Oh
Hell, I
yeah,
literally
that would have been my last
couldn't
choice.
watch the Bulls. I'm like, bro, it was, and I damn sure couldn't watch the Falcons. Like, I was, yeah, it was pissing me off. So I'm like, man, no, I was like, there's gotta be another source. And I found it, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But nah, man, that's all, Jared. I get everything clipped up and I try and get some clips up and all of that. But
Yeah, but no, I'm glad I was able to share that. But I say my faith has become a greater part of my lifestyle. Just because like that truly is a means for like just like your life and like things to live by and to kind of form your character. So it's like I've been enjoying it. It's fun.
no, I definitely get that. Yeah, and that is dope for you too, man. I'm glad you was able to do that. I always try and read, so I always try and just, I look at it the same way, man. Like,
Hmm.
just I try and stay grounded through that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But then
So,
like being called to teach others though, that's really where it's like because God is kind of imbued in everything involves teaching. And so like never would I have thought that Jared would be getting up in front of people, and they want to hear what he
right.
has to say. And it's just like it's amazing. God's amazing.
No, I agree, man. I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bro.
But for sure, man, I'm about to go on with second segment. You're
Cool.
good for that. I just really need if you want to, I was gonna say maybe Thursday. I need to see what Thursday is. Thursday is literally New Year's Day, so I don't know if I'll get up episode then. But if not Thursday, then I'll have you back the following week, if anything.
Yeah. I'm about to say if you ever want to chime in on college football is pretty interesting. Even that's really weird though. So
Yeah, I actually got a lot of things to say about college football. It's not really positive. I'll put it
I
that
mean,
way.
no, like no, but you're right because like there's so much going on now. It's like and it's unpoliced. It's all unregulated. Like
Man, yeah, I don't have many positive things to say about college football, especially yeah, bro. Like it's yeah. We'll have to. We'll have to say that for another day. But to me, long story short, it's basically a semi-pro league at this point.
Yes.
At this point.
But
Yeah.
no. All right, I'm about to go get back to work, man. I appreciate you.
All right, for sure, man. I appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
All
much
right, be
love.
easy.
God bless.
For sure. Be easy. All right. This is my guy, Jared, man. And we're going to pick up on the second segment as well. And this will just be some news, man. Some news for the run. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson. I appreciate you for tuning in to the first interactive sports podcast. Hit us up on a voicemail line, 219-413-9405. And of course, we'll play your take back on our next episode. We got some stuff here with news for the run. Let's go ahead and give a recap of some of these scores that happened in week 17. We now know what teams are eliminated out of the playoffs, and we now know what teams are actually locked into the playoffs, but we're still trying to figure out who will be the division winners of a couple different divisions. And I'll break that down to you in just a sec. But let's start with some of the scores that happened in week 17. Now, these games were played just all throughout Christmas, and it was just kind of scattered everywhere. But to go to the most recent game, the Chicago Bears and the San Francisco 49ers, absolute cinema, crazy game. 49ers won 42-38 in the fourth quarter. It came down to a game-stopping possession from the 49ers. Man, Bears drove all the way downfield with just over a minute and some change left. And it was just an intense battle up and down between these two, man. Offensive showdown. Brock Purdy, he showed his behind. Caleb Williams showed his behind of how great he is at what he does. And I was just thoroughly impressed all around with both of these teams. And if anything, this matchup between the Bears and the 49ers really showed us how important these offensive-minded coaches are and having a good offensive coordinator is, because it was just a shootout. I know a lot of people want to say, oh, well, the defense was bad for the Bears and 49ers. No, not really. I think the offensive-minded coaches were just that good in this night, man. I mean, it was a showdown. It was a showdown, and a lot of times they were capitalizing on opportunity. They were just paying attention to certain ways the defense was lined up. Like, it was a showdown. And I'm excited that we might even potentially see this matchup again in the playoffs. However, the Philadelphia Eagles played the Buffalo Bills, and the Buffalo Bills ended up losing that game by 1 point. This was also another really good game. They went for the extra 2 at the end of the game instead of kicking a field goal. And however, it backfired. They did not get the extra 2 points. Josh Allen in particular really just threw a bad pass. And I mean, yeah, it was rough. They went for the 2. They tried to win the ball game and they ended up losing. So Philadelphia Eagles took that dub. And I mean, we already know they secured a playoff spot, but it was interesting. I also think another interesting aspect for this game here of Eagles and Bills is the fact that Jalen Hurts, he did win a ball game. And this isn't me saying, oh, well, Hurts is good or Hurts is bad or he's this and he's that. I just think it's pretty important that people understand what was going on in this ball game. And although Jalen Hurts did end up winning this game, Jalen Hurts had zero passing yards in the second half of football, which is crazy, man. I know, I'm just 0 second half passing yards for your quarterback, starting quarterback. Just saying, like, I'm on the side of all. I vouched for Jalen Hurts. Before the season, I said Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback based on what we've seen last year, and hopefully he can sustain that type of play. But this play that we've seen so far from Jalen Hurts, it is not given top 5 quarterback. It is not given that he's one of the best guys in the league at the position, and it's not really given that he's that guy that's making the extreme difference for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, granted, their offensive coordinator has been awful. The offense have been stinking all year long, so of course that plays a part in it. But I think those conversations of, oh, Jalen Hurts is this and Jalen Hurts is that, when you're putting up games where you have zero passing yards in the second half against a terrible Bills defense, yeah, man, we got to have some conversations about top 5 this year. Not maybe all time is still a little bit different, but this year, based on everything I've witnessed this year, we might have to have some conversations. We'll revisit it, though, later on in the season. Other than that, look, so Eagles, yeah, they beat the Bills. And then the following game, we had a lot more football. The Giants, they ended up beating the Raiders. Now, this was also an interesting game here because the Giants, with this win over the Las Vegas Raiders, they secured the second pick in the NFL draft next year. The loser of this game would have guaranteed got the first pick of the NFL draft, but with the Giants winning this ball game, they blew that first pick again, and now they gave it to the Raiders, so Raiders will have the first pick in the 2026 NFL draft. And yeah, that'll be interesting there. But this is the second year in a row where the Giants had the opportunity to secure the first round pick or the first pick in the NFL draft, but they clearly decided to go a different way with it. Which is just a little wild to me, a little wild. Other than that, we do have a lot more games. So as I said here, these are out of order. I don't know what just happened to my week 17, but computer just tweaked out, and we'll pull up from, okay, we're back. We got it. All right, Seahawks played the Carolina Panthers. Seahawks beat the Panthers. Patriots played the New York Jets, and they put up 40 on the New York Jets, as the Jets only had 10 points. The Miami Dolphins, they ended up beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-7. And I'm shocked that the Dolphins even won that game. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers, they have to play the Carolina Panthers for the division in week 18. Winner of that game will decide who wins that division. And also, which is weird, very weird, NFC South out. Oh my gosh, I'll explain in just a second. But if the Falcons win out the rest of the season, meaning against the Rams and also the following week against the Saints, then this puts the Carolina Panthers in a position to get into the playoffs, which is just extremely weird, but I'll explain it a little more in just a second. The Jaguars, they beat the Colts. It was a great game as well. They won 23-17, and man, Jaguars are a legitimate team. Trevor Lawrence, he balled out, had 2 rushing touchdowns, and it was just a great game all around. Colts couldn't really find a groove, and this now extends their losing streak to 6 games, man. This is a team that started off 7-1, and somehow the Colts ended up folding all the way from 7-1 to 8-8. Like, damn, this is rough. I vouched for the Colts. I thought they were elite. And I know they lost Daniel Jones, but damn it, Daniel Jones wasn't that much of a blow where they should go on a 6-game losing streak. It was pretty crazy. But Colts playoff dreams are over, so they will not be in the playoffs. The Titans, they ended up losing to the New Orleans Saints. The Browns, they ended up beating the Steelers, which is crazy, and this now sets the Steelers in a difficult position because they have to beat the Baltimore Ravens in order to get into the playoffs, which I'll explain in just a sec. The Bengals, they ended up beating the Cardinals. The Packers, they fell short to the Baltimore Ravens. No Jordan Love, no Lamar Jackson. Texans, they ended up beating the Chargers 20-16. Broncos, they ended up beating the Chiefs. This was on Christmas Day, 20-13. The Lions, they lost to the Vikings. Listen to the first half about the Lions Super Bowl window. I had a guest, Jared Bell, on there, so you got to listen to him. The Cowboys and the Commanders was also a pretty solid game. Cowboys won that game 30-29. And tonight for Monday Night Football, this is between the LA Rams and the Atlanta Falcons. And man, I'm not even getting my hopes up about the Falcons. However, let's explain some of the teams that are in a playoff situation and they have to win. We got some very unique situations going on in the playoffs for the NFL. So to kind of give you a little more information right off the bat, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens are going head-to-head in Week 18. The winner of this game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens will advance to the playoffs, and they will also win the division. Now, neither of these teams have been on fire at all season, but however, it comes down to one game, so that'll be interesting. We also have another situation that is very similar with the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. This is going to be happening Saturday instead of Sunday, but the winner of this game will be the number 1 seed in the NFC, which means they'll get a bye week, and they will also be the winner of their division. So it will be very interesting to see what happens here in this game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. I believe we have another situation that is similar to this as well in terms of teams that will have one deciding game. And as we know, a couple of other teams that secured the playoff spot, Rams are in for sure. 49ers, they are in for sure. And I think let me go back to this here because this will better explain it. So just from top to bottom in the NFC, to give more context, Seahawks are right now currently at number 1. If they lose to the 49ers, then they'll drop to number 5, and the 49ers will go all the way up to the number 1 spot. The Bears, they've clinched their playoff berth. They are locked in. We see here they also won their division. Eagles are good. They won their division. No worries on that. And then Rams are at number 6 right now, and it seems like they'll probably stay at number 6, at least as of now. They did clinch the wild card game, so no matter what happens in Week 18, they are goated for that wild card game. Right now, Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers are also in a very unique situation. Now, the Carolina Panthers and the Buccaneers, they play each other in Week 18. The winner of this game will win the division. However, there was something weird, and you have to fact check me on this, but just to give a little more information about what potentially could happen, if I believe, again, fact checked on your own, but I seen something and it was saying that if the Panthers lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but yet the Falcons win out, then the Buccaneers will be eliminated from the playoffs because the Carolina Panthers have the advantage in that division. Now, again, you got to fact check this because this is something I seen, and I don't even know if I'm relating it back positively or relating it back in the correct way. But just looking at everything as I've went over, the Panthers are 3-2 in the division. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-2 in the division. If the Falcons win out, which is tonight against the Rams, and also the following week against the Saints, that means they'll have the same record as the Carolina Panthers and a record above the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But because the Panthers swept the Atlanta Falcons, they take priority and end up going to the playoffs, which is just so weird because this whole division of the NFC South, bro, no, they shouldn't have a team to make the playoffs. I'm embarrassed to be a fan of a team that's in the NFC South. To be 8-9 and possibly get in the playoffs, nobody could win 10 games is just crazy to me. In this weird situation of Falcons possibly winning out and Buccaneers having the same record and all, it's just weird, man. This standard was so low for the NFC South and for any team to kind of win it, and all of them have fumbled at multiple opportunities. Last week, Panthers had a chance to solidify their division with the win, and they lost. Last week, Buccaneers had a chance to solidify the division with the win, and they lost. Like, it's just sad, man. It's sad. But look, that's all the news for the run there. Let's jump into some other stuff here because, as I mentioned, man, Matty Ice, he might be joining the Atlanta Falcons front office. And oh man, I would love for Matt Ryan to join the Atlanta Falcons front office. Now, again, this is just a rumor right now, so there's a couple things going on with the Falcons, and we've been trying to figure out everything because news has been popping up left and right of what's going on with the Atlanta Falcons. However, It was latest. It was reported on the latest of by multiple sources have reported that prior quarterback or Hall of Fame quarterback, future Hall of Famer, however you want to say it, Matt Ryan may potentially join the Atlanta Falcons front office. They're considering to move him into the front office. Now, we don't know what the role is exactly, but Matt Ryan possibly joining the front office, to me, initially, I heard it, and I'm like, maybe this is good news. I mean, this is a guy who has a huge upside. He's played in the NFL multiple times, went to the Super Bowl, knows what it takes, knows what kind of personnel you need, knows the coaching is extremely important, and he understands, nonetheless, that the game is continuously evolving. So, to me, those are some things where I look at Matt Ryan and I'm like, hey, Matt Ryan, maybe he is a good hire for the front office of the Atlanta Falcons right now. Maybe he could help change things and turn things around with this organization who's so close to really reaching a peak and being good because they have a lot of the personnel to do it. They just need the situations in the front office to be a little bit better. Now, before we just all get super hype about Matt Ryan going to the Atlanta Falcons to join the front office, one, I think some things need to be solidified. First, it's a rumor. We don't know for sure. It has been reported by multiple people that this is a rumor and that it's valid. I mean, we have multiple sources. Glazer I think he was the first one to report it. However, still just a rumor. Nothing confirmed yet. We don't know for sure if it's 100% going to happen. And, some of the critiques here with the whole Matt Ryan joining the front office is, of course, a lot of upside, former player, whatever. But the critique is that he does have no experience. Matt Ryan has absolutely no experience of being in the front office for a team, whether it's GM, whether it's president of operations, whether that's CFO, whatever the case is, and whatever the position is in the front office. The critique of him possibly joining the staff is the fact that he doesn't really know what he's doing just yet. He would kind of be learning on the job if he's going. And maybe it's a lot of experience that he has that could factor into helping turn this around. But ultimately, when you talk about what Terry Fontenot has done and, what other GM we could possibly get to replace Terry, at least someone that we would bring in has that experience of calculating the numbers and being on the phones with other teams and putting together certain packages and trades, all these other things that go into being a GM. So, it is a lot of celebration right off the back of, oh, well, Matt Ryan might join, which is cool. But I think we also need to consider that, this would be a learn on the job situation. And man, I just know the way Falcons fans are, they would just trash him day in and day out all through the season if he made one bad decision. Hell, Terry gave us a lot of great pieces that we have now, and he still gets trashed for it. So to me, it's a little weird, and we have to be a little cautious. But I think it could be something that's good. And it's weird to me because this organization clearly has no direction of what they want to do. It seems like we're exploring all options in terms of bringing someone into the front office or bringing someone new in the front office and, just kind of shaking things up, because just a couple of weeks ago, it was said the Falcons hired an outside consulting firm to evaluate the potential changes in the front office. And whether that's, head coach, offensive coordinator, it was presented as a health check for the Atlanta Falcons front office and the coaching staff and operations that's going on. So do I know about this outside consulting firm? No, I don't. I don't really know who they are. I don't know if Blank picked them. I don't know if it was someone Terry. I don't know much about them. We didn't get much information about them outside of the outside consulting firm is coming to do a health check. That was it. And that could mean a variety of things, whether it's from a financial standpoint or whether it's from, a standpoint of personnel or who's doing their job well and who's not doing their job well. It could be a variety of things. But now, a couple weeks later, the Matt Ryan news come out. So this just tells me that they clearly don't have any direction. We don't know what we're doing. And hopefully, a lot of changes are coming this offseason. Now, this brings me to the potential head coaches changes. And I know there's been some conversations about that. So this is why I want to present a couple idea candidates. Just if the Atlanta Falcons were to fire Raheem Morris, which I think we're heading in the direction of, regardless of how he finishes the season, whether it's beating the Rams and beating the Saints, I think either way, the Falcons are heading in the direction of firing Raheem Morris. Am I foolish for thinking this? Yes, maybe. But hey, I'm just that gullible. I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan. Who cares? But some of the coaches I think they could very much benefit from if we bring in is number one, I'm going to start with Vikings defensive coordinator, Brian Flores. Brian Flores, I mean, he's known as a great defensive mind from what he's done with the Vikings. He previously coached with the Miami Dolphins, and he got a kind of a bad rep with Tua Tagovailoa because he was very open about Tua not being that guy for him at quarterback. And, you know, for Tua Tagovailoa not being the guy. And Tua has said some things on different podcasts and in different interviews where he's mentioned that it was just a bad dynamic because the coach was coming down hard on him. Pause. But I think above all, Brian Flores is someone who could rally a team like he's done multiple times with the Vikings defense that we've seen. And I think he's someone who knows what he wants in terms of a defense and where he wants the team to be. Right now, he's coming off a really good season defensively with the Minnesota Vikings. And they've been a factor since he's been in that situation. So to me, I would be okay with having Brian Flores. However, my only critique in that situation would be that he's not really he hasn't proved that he has a great offensive mind in the NFL. And right now, yes, obviously defense is extremely important, and that's what it's going to come down to. But with the potential that the Falcons have on the offensive side of the ball, we need someone that can help this offense flow and help this offense thrive. Will Brian Flores be able to do that? I don't know, but I know he can be there defensively for sure. And a lot of times, head coaches don't call the offense. As long as we can get a solid offensive coordinator in there next to Brian Flores as a head coach, then I think from there we'll be okay and we'll be all right. But right now, it's a bad thing happening right now from the coaching staff. So Brian Flores to me is number one, like one of the ideal candidates I would love to have in terms of head coaches for the Atlanta Falcons. Another one. We got to keep an eye out. We got to keep an eye out here because don't really know how much this will play into the situation, but I think a guy we should be keeping an eye out for as a potential head coach for the Atlanta Falcons is the Steelers head coach, Mike Tomlin. Now, hear me out, because if the Steelers let him go for having another 9-8 season, which he's on pace for doing, I think the Falcons should be the first team to jump on that and just go full throttle on bringing Mike Tomlin to Atlanta, because Mike Tomlin is clearly a good coach. He showed he can win games. He's going to always get you that positive season. The man ain't never had a losing season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, so he's clearly going to be able to win some games. And as a Falcons fan right now, that's all I need is a 9-8 season. I'll be cool with that because clearly that can get us in the playoffs based on what we're seeing this year. Also, Tomlin is proven to be able to whisper to quarterbacks. I mean, I'm not going to go as far as saying he's a quarterback whisperer, but that argument can be made because look at what he's been dealing with over the past few years. I mean, at one point, he had Mitchell Trubisky looking like he was a pretty elite quarterback. He had Justin Fields playing pretty decent. I mean, now he's got Aaron Rodgers in there winning ball games. So, to me, a team that has a young quarterback and a veteran quarterback at the same time, which is Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr., if anybody can help them in the coaching pool, I think it's Mike Tomlin, because he's dealt with situations like this multiple times. And also Mike Tomlin, the guys love playing for him. He has solid defensive schemes. We've seen him cook up multiple times. The Steelers defense has always been a factor since he's been there, regardless of who's on the roster. So I think Mike Tomlin, man, his time might be up in Pittsburgh, and I would love to see him go to Atlanta if the Pittsburgh Steelers let him go, personally. I would love to see it. And the guys, it seems like every roster he's had where guys leave, they always have something good to say about Mike Tomlin and what he was able to do for the culture in Pittsburgh. So I would love to see him there. Another guy is Bill Belichick. He's rumored to still be a favorite by the Atlanta Falcons front office right now. Apparently, they still love what they heard from Belichick in the interviews last year, and maybe they might bring him back. His whole stunt at North Carolina, just straight down the drain. Nothing really good. Also, too, Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. He's having a great season offensively with the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm still undecided on if I would want him to continue on with the Atlanta Falcons as a head coach. And, they got a good team. They got a good team over there in Seattle. So it's interesting, like, how much faith I have in Clint Kubiak. I think when we played him, this current season. He had a lot of great schemes, and he ran a lot of great plays. But again, I'm just still not convinced because this is only one season, and hey, it's up for grabs. It's in the air, but this guy's on the radar. Most of these guys are on the radar between Brian Flores, Mike Tomlin. If the Steelers fire him, that's my number one. Bill Belichick possibly, and then Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. That could be a great change for the Atlanta Falcons in terms of finding a head coach in the NFL. And then I know a lot of quarterback alternatives have been a situation as well in Atlanta where, Kirk Cousins is taking up a lot of contract space. Michael Penix Jr. is coming off an ACL injury. And, the whole thing with maybe cutting Kirk Cousins to have some money to pay Kyle Pitts is a situation that I think we should flirt with the ideal a little bit. I know if the Falcons cut Kirk Cousins, that means we'll have about $35 million in dead cap following 2026. So it'll be a little rough. But this does open up a little more room on the salary cap, surprisingly, because we won't be paying Kirk that full $57 million. So, if we eat the $35 million in dead cap, cutting Kirk Cousins, maybe we could try and bring in some young talent, which would, for me, means we need to try and get Malik Willis here because backup quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, Malik Willis has been balling. I mean, he's shown last year what he can do. He's shown this year what he can do. And I think this guy, he's the only real target that's coming up for free agency. And he's shown his behind of what he can do on the football field. So if the Falcons go the route of cutting Kirk Cousins to save some more calorie space, salary cap, to save some more salary cap, then, I think it could be something beneficial. But again, a lot of it depends on if we'll get a new head coach. If we get a new head coach with an offensive coordinator, maybe we won't want to cut Kirk Cousins because what we have might be good enough. However, I think his cap hit is huge for us, but it could be a situation that we could work out as long as we have a good play caller and a good head coach to help out on this offensive side of the ball. I know there's been some conversations about Falcons potential quarterbacks that we could pick up for a free or a small amount of money, I should say. Justin Fields was in there, Mac Jones, David Mills, which is the backup quarterback for the Texans. These guys are names that's popping up for potential quarterbacks that could play for the Falcons just while Penix is recovering from his injury if we do cut Kirk Cousins. However, some of these are unrealistic. Like, it's just unrealistic. Like, Mac Jones, he's not a free agent until 2027. Hopefully, by then, Penix will be all right. So we would have to trade and give up something for the 49ers. Justin Fields, that's a hard no on me. I wouldn't want to trade him, but we would have to do that because he's not a free agent until 2027. Davis Mills, who's also the Texans backup, proved he's solid. Great quarterback so far, but he got extended by the Texans, so I don't think he's going anywhere. A lot of these situations of quarterbacks to, in a way, replace Penix until he's fully healthy, if we were to cut Kirk Cousins, is unrealistic. The only real option is Malik Willis, and I'm sure he's going to get paid a pretty decent amount. So I think all these other options, we would have to trade for them, and I don't think we're really in a position to be trading guys to bring in another potential backup quarterback or maybe starting quarterback, depending on how you want to look at it with Penix being out. But a lot of this is it's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, and maybes. But I definitely think, nonetheless, it'll be a lot of changes coming to this Falcons team this summer. So I'm hoping we see something really good. I'm hoping we see more coaches come up for hire or, more potential offensive coordinators come up. I would love to stack a Mike McDaniel in there, but I'm pretty sure, I'm already sure it's actually been confirmed that McDaniel is not leaving the Miami Dolphins. So thankfully that report didn't come out with the Atlanta Falcons. So, hey, it's a huge upside. We'll see, man. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys. So I appreciate you for tuning with me, kicking it, hanging in. I know it's a longer episode, but hey, man, it is what it is. And I appreciate y'all for tuning in, send this to a cousin, a brother, uncle, niece, nephew, coworker, friend, family member, whoever you know that enjoy sports, especially if they like the Falcons, man, you definitely got to send this to them and just ask them what their thoughts are on some of these potential moves from the front office, from the coaching staff, or the quarterback. But anyway, man, that's all I got for you guys. And other than that, man, I appreciate you tuning in, and we will be back possibly later on next week because Thursday is New Year's Day. So I'm not even going to promise y'all that there's an episode on that day. Yeah, I won't do that. But we'll see. Other than that, that's all I got, man. I'll be back later on, and so on and so on.